Hi, welcome back to the railroad this time. Normally I would welcome you back to my desk, workspace, but normally I'm doing tips and tricks on how to build railroads. But I thought it was about time for me to show you how I've been applying some of those very tips and techniques and ideas that I've stolen from other YouTubers out there, and show you what the layout really is looking like. So we're going to take a little tour around the corner over here. You may remember I've done several videos, as a matter of fact one for each of the four corners, and I kind of tried to make each corner a little bit different. One was a kind of a square disappearing, which was the first one. Next one is kind of a city street scene, and then as you move across the railroad you get to look at some of the other buildings and that sliding panel that I built that hides the doorway as you come in. And then we're back in the back corner of kind of the city scene, urban scene, and then back up to the very front where I have another corner that's kind of built out. And that's the key. I wanted to try and make everything just a little bit different so nothing was all exactly the same. What I want to do right now with this video is take a very close look at that very first corner. So what I've tried to do back in this corner is to really kind of create the illusion that the city goes on beyond the corner itself. So Larry Deal came up with this idea. He said, you're squaring up all these buildings in Photoshop, which I think I also did a video on, at least in trainmasters.com. But I put them in Photoshop, I square them up, I size them to make them scale, do all kinds of work to them. But he said, you already have them distorted, why don't you just leave them that way or just modify them a little bit and make it look like this corner disappears back in down to some other alleyway back there. So that's what we did here, what I did here. This is the Centra background buildings that are disappearing. And I've made a truck terminal back here for REA, for the Railway Express Agency. And Americans really delineate properties and scenes, in our case, but properties, by the use of fences. And Woodland Scenics has a great chain link fence that I really like to use. It's easy to work with. The fence is metal, but the upright pieces, the poles and everything, are plastic, so they can be glued and fastened. Can be used either with crazy glue or with a solvent. But anyway, I really like that, and that delineates between my truck center and then my industrial center up here, and I've kind of framed the track as it goes around back there. There's no really place for anything to be spotted or stopped, whatever, so we don't worry about that. And then I've got, of course, the buildings up here in front that really break it up. It's nice, but sometimes I'll use a fence to separate between the real life and the painted scene, or in this case, the photographic background. But I also use it to separate the scenes front from back. So the scene here with Robertson Cabinets, named after Joe Robertson, a real good friend of mine, an artist who painted the other corner that we'll get to an episode or two down the line. But anyway, I named that for him. That's out front. This is the Woodland Scenics water tank, water tower, and I kind of framed that up again because, again, for public safety, they would have framed that with a fence or closed it off so people couldn't get to it. So this whole corner then kind of evolved because of the industries that were there and what we as human beings and owners of these businesses might have done, and fences do a great job of that. Industrial areas have a lot of them around because they do have a lot of problems with people getting in that don't belong there. And the other thing is just safety. You don't want to be sued because somebody gets hurt on your property. So that's how this corner kind of evolved and how the thinking process caused every one of the steps to be done as I got finished with it. So next episode we'll move down the line here. I've got an oil dock and some warehouse facilities, and we'll take a look at what my thinking process was and how I went about making those areas as well. So, as always, until we meet again, go down to your railroad room and let your trains put a smile on your face.